We've come a long way together over the last year. Now we need everybody, we need you to get vaccinated and help put COVID behind us once and for all. It's time for everyone to say they've rolled up their sleeves and gotten their vaccinations. COVID vaccines are safe and effective. Everyone in the Benjamin family has now been vaccinated, even our youngest. Just like we've done, and just like so many others across the Midlands, it is important to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Once you've gotten fully vaccinated, you'll know you've done your part in helping everyone get safely back together again. Take a look, see how easy that was. Vaccinations are free and available from great community partners all across the Midlands. Getting our city and all of our communities back to normal is almost within reach. We're almost there. This is your shot, Columbia.
Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
It's Wednesday, and that means it's Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina. Good afternoon. I'm Tre Tailor, and thank you so much for joining us. Listen, today is HIV Testing Day, and where you can get a test and why it's important for you, regardless of your sexual orientation. Coming up next, Deasia Lee with SC DHEC and Dean Edwards, Program Manager with PALS, joins us today on Coping with COVID. Dean, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay! We had some connectivity issues earlier, but listen, Dean, didn't I say I'm just trusting and believing God you're going to get on? We're so glad you're here.
Amen.
Both of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's Autism Pride Day and what it means for an educator and mom of autistic children. We'll hear from Amanda Cruel Anderson. She's going to join us coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID. Hey there, Amanda, you're there. Okay. Can we get Amanda back on? Hey, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. You're on mute, but we're going to put you backstage. Make sure you get off of mute so that we can hear what you have to say. We're going to talk with... Thank you. All of them coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community updates. Lexington School District has named Dr. Akil Ross as interim superintendent. The former Chapin High School principal and 2018 Principal of the Year was voted into the position unanimously during the school board meeting yesterday. The board also announced a settlement with outgoing superintendent Dr. Christine Melton. They'll pay her $226,000 to terminate her contract 2 years earlier than expected. The Supreme Court has made a ruling limiting when peace police can enter a home without a warrant when it involves a misdemeanor. Now, the court previously said law enforcement can enter without a warrant if they're in hot pursuit of a suspect believed to have committed a serious crime or felony. Finally, SC Future Makers is hosting a virtual career fair for the state's military community today. Over 30 different employers, including Boeing, Bridgestone, Starbucks, and even T-Mobile will be available until 8 o'clock tonight. Now, you can register at mypingapp.com/events, and we should have that graphic up for you to see. There it is, right there. SC DHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and locations for COVID testing and also COVID vaccines in and around South Carolina. Visit scdhec.gov for more information. Also, COVID vaccines are being held at Lexington Medical Center. Many of those locations are now walk-in. You do not need an appointment. All vets will be handled at the VA hospital. You can register at the VA website for more information. Now, several retailers are also offering COVID vaccinations, including Kroger pharmacies and also CVS pharmacies. Now, the CVS pharmacies also in Target are also offering COVID vaccinations. The Benedict College Vaccination Clinic is still going on Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. And online registration for seniors is being facilitated through Get Set Up. If you or someone you know is having some challenges getting set up to get your COVID vaccine, you can call Get Set Up and they'll help walk you through it. Also, you can get free rides from the Comet. The Comet bus system is saying don't miss out on your shot. You can get a free ride to a vaccine at the Comet, and you can also get a vaccination at the Comet bus station. Their main location on the corner of Sumter and Laurel Streets is also administering the COVID vaccine. Now, FEMA is offering reimbursement for COVID funeral expenses. If you have a loved one that has passed away due to COVID, make sure you register for that reimbursement. Also, bill assistance is going on from Richland County SC.gov. They still have some funding available. And Dominion Energy and SC Housing bill payment assistance. We talked with those folks last week, and they said that they still have some funding available. They also have assistance for frontline workers wanting to purchase a home. The City of Columbia 6-month payment plan is still going on. They'll give you help with your water bills and payment assistance up to 75%. And the Affordable Care Act open enrollment is going on through August 15th. Even if you've already enrolled for health insurance, make sure you log on to that website so you can see if you can get even more help with subsidies. And the South Carolina Department of Mental Health has launched SC Hopes to help people cope with COVID. And the statewide summer feeding program is eligible for school-aged children, regardless of where they attend school. Several locations are available throughout the state of South Carolina. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Wellness Wednesday from Coping with COVID. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council and In It Together SC. Listen, we are actually streaming live on the In It Together Facebook page. Go over there to Facebook, and not only will you be able to check out all types of great resources as far as diabetic and pre-diabetes programs, you can also watch Coping with COVID and look at all of the great information they have on that website. We're also streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. That's the home of Coping with COVID. Would you please go over there and hit like and follow and share? Again, we've got so many great resources that are COVID related, assistance, medical, everything you would need. And also you can get notifications on when we go live with Coping with COVID, which is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and first Monday with comedian George Wallace. We also have a presence on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us on YouTube. We're streaming live, and also on Instagram and on Twitter. Please continue to like, share, and follow. We also want you to share out this information so we can get the message to the masses. That's the goal of Coping with COVID and also Wellness Wednesday, to get the information to those of us on social media where we get our news and information. It's a credible source for news and information on social media. Well, it's National HIV Testing Day, and to talk about the events happening and why it's important to you, Deasia Lee with SCDHEC and Dean Edwards, Program Manager with PALS, joins us today. Thank you both so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So listen, I don't know who can answer this, but what are the numbers right now for HIV in South Carolina?
So I can answer that probably. So as of December 31st, 2019, there are over 20,000 people living with HIV in South Carolina. And between 2018 and 2019, over 1,500 people were newly diagnosed with HIV. So HIV is definitely still an issue in our state. And something that COVID did impact was our testing numbers. And so we're rebounding right now. And that's kind of why the theme of this year's National HIV Testing Day, which is June 27th, is My Test, My Way. We want to let people know that there are different options available, because something that really came out of COVID was self-testing, at-home testing. So people can, order kits online from the CDC. They can get kits from some of our community-based organizations, and they can do their testing at home, or they can come into the clinic, whatever they prefer. But something we definitely want to let people know is that they do have options as far as their HIV testing.
Wow, that's great, Deasia. Thank you so much. I was going to ask about how COVID impacted, and you said, of course, people weren't going out, so people weren't getting tested, but people were in more.
Yep, so, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Looking for something to do.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So you say that this day is important because, as Deasia said, Dean, with the numbers dropping as far as testing because of COVID, this is even more important now.
Yes, definitely. It's more important now because we know that over this past year, people have been had challenges coming out. So we want to let them know that now is the time to go ahead and get tested, get your yearly test. Come on in, schedule your appointment or walk in, and get tested. And my test my way is basically taking ownership of your testing process. And like Deja said, DH, I'm sorry, said, there are opportunities outside of traditional walk-in. You can order a test online. We have our specialty clinics throughout this community where you can come in after hours on Saturdays. So my test my way is taking ownership of your test and allowing you to have opportunities to test.
Great. That's Dean Edwards. He's a program manager with Palmetto AIDS Life Support. And throughout the interview, we'll be flashing information on the screen about where you can get tested this month throughout the state. So are there concerns for HIV testing for those who did or do have COVID? Should people that have HIV not get a COVID test?
Everyone should definitely get a HIV test. COVID has no impact on HIV whatsoever. It is safe for people who have COVID or who've had COVID to get tested. If they currently have COVID, they may want to wait until they test negative, but they can certainly do an at-home test if that's something they want to do instead of coming into a clinic. But yeah, anyone who's had COVID can definitely get tested. There's no kind of issue with that at all.
That's great to know. Now, what does the testing entail? What do you do when you get a COVID test, whether it is at a facility or through the in-home? And I think it's great that people can order one to do it on home. That's amazing.
Oh, you mean the HIV test? So
yes,
there's
HIV
a couple
test.
different there's a couple different options. But if they do it at home, it's just like an oral swab. So you kind of swab the top of your gums and the bottom of your gums, put it in the test unit and kind of wait 20 minutes so you know right away. If you come into some of our community-based organizations, you'll know even sooner. Most tests there are 1 minute and it's just a little finger stick. So if you're used to or if you're familiar with people living with diabetes, and they do that finger stick to check their blood sugar, it's kind of the same thing for the HIV test. So it's very, not painless at all. It's very quick, and you can have your results with the rapid test as early as 1 minute.
Wow. So, Dean, who can get tested for HIV?
We recommend anyone getting tested as early as 13 years old up until the CDC is recommending between 13 and 64 to get tested on a yearly basis. There are, individuals that may be at higher risk, so we encourage them as well to get tested. But any and everyone is required, not required, but mandated that we test anybody between those age brackets.
Right. We're talking about National HIV Testing Day. Deja Lee with DHEC and Dean Edwards with Palmetto AIDS Life Support Services is joining us today. For those people who may not remember or know or still really be in the dark, because I think people are still in the dark about exactly not only what HIV is, but who is at risk of getting HIV. Can we talk a little bit about that, Deja and Dean? Who's at risk of getting HIV and how do you get it?
Yeah, so everyone can be at risk for HIV if you're having sex, if you're, injecting drugs, things like that. So everyone is at risk. HIV is transmitted in very specific fluids. So there's breast milk, there's blood, there's preseminal fluids, semen, vaginal fluids, and rectal fluids. So if any of those fluids come in contact with very specific body parts, such as, the vagina, the mouth, the anus, things like that, there is a risk for HIV transmission, but you can definitely protect yourself from that by getting tested so you know your status, your partner knows their status, using condoms if that's something you're interested in, and also using PrEP or pre-exposure prophylaxis. So that's a pill similar to birth control that you can take once a day, and it will prevent your chances of contracting HIV.
Wow, I was really surprised when you said breast milk. So that means someone as a child, a baby, could get HIV if the mother has it.
Yes. So there are some people who are living with HIV who were born with HIV. There are some people, it doesn't happen as often. It's very low getting HIV through breast milk because if the mother, knows her status and she's taking her antiretrovirals, it's very unlikely that she'll transmit HIV to her baby. And there's other options for breastfeeding. If a mother is living with HIV, she doesn't have to breastfeed, she can bottle feed. So they have options. But yeah, that's why it's important that all pregnant women get tested so they know, and they can protect themselves and their baby as well.
Right. Nadine, Deja gave us some great information about who's at risk and how you get it. But I really want you to talk a little bit about the misconception that you can only be a member of the LGBTQ community to get HIV, which is why everybody needs to be aware of it.
Right. And we hear that a lot. A lot of the focus is on, let's say, African-American men who have sex with men. That may be because the rates are higher with that population, but anybody can contract HIV. Like Deasia said, with unprotected sex, that's anybody, right?
Right.
It's just not one particular population. Multiple sex partners, anything that puts you at high risk, you can contract HIV, or even at low risk. The important thing is knowing your partner's status. Get tested together.
Right. We're talking to Dean Edwards with PALS and also Deasia Lee with DHEC, and we're talking about National HIV Testing Day. We've been putting up flyers about several events that are going on statewide. So let's talk about that, Deasia and Dean. When is testing taking place in South Carolina? I know you've got a lot of different events.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, Dean, did you want to talk about PALS event?
Yeah, let's start off with the longest serving HIV organization in South Carolina.
Yes.
Congratulations on 35 years.
Yes, congratulations. Amazing gala Friday. Yeah.
Yes,
Monday.
yes. Monday. Yes, you did a great job. Great job, Trey. But yes, we'll be testing here on Saturday from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. It's walk-in, and you can come in at any time. We'll be providing like refreshments. We'll have a live remote from iHeart Media, doing a live remote here at the office. But any other time we test during the week, you can call and make an appointment at 779-7257. We do appointments during the week. We also have a men's clinic on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings and the first and third Saturday. So go to our website, check our testing opportunities that we have. And of course, we do HIV, STD, we do COVID, and we do COVID vaccines here as well.
Oh, wow. So people can just stop by during, the big testing day, but then they can come throughout the week and get tested.
Yes, definitely.
Now, Deasia, there are several other events going on throughout the state. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So the actual National HIV Testing Day is Sunday, the 27th. And so not a whole lot of testing will happen on that day. It's the Sabbath and all that. So a lot of our partners and as well as DHEC, we're offering testing on days leading up to the 27th and some days after the 27th. So you can check out, we have a website for this, scdhec.gov/National HIV Testing Day to find out about the testing event. We also have it on our Facebook page, In the Epidemics SC, and we'll have a list of all the events. So PALS is kind of kicking it off today with their Facebook Live and some of their events later this week. And then pretty much every day around the state, there will be events happening in our different community partners. And you can find testing events near you if you visit scdhec.gov/HIV locator. National HIV Testing Day is a very special day for testing, but you can always come in and get tested at any time at our community-based organizations. Testing is pretty much always free or low cost. Same at the health departments, and the health departments are offering free testing on Tuesday, June 29th. So definitely come in, get tested. It'll be testing for HIV, STDs, hepatitis C, and things like that as well.
All right, awesome. And then you've got this final event, which is the National HIV Testing Day.
Yes, that's our flyer for testing at the health departments on June 29th. You can come in, schedule an appointment, you can walk in, and we'll get you tested at your local health department.
Okay, and people can find out about all of this information on the DHEC website. And then, of course, for PALS, they can find out on the PALS website, right, Dean?
Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned, other than the special events, you did mention that PALS does administer testing throughout the week. Can you tell us what those times are again and days are?
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 10 till 4. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're doing a late clinic from 5 to 7. And the first and third Saturdays of the month from 10 till 2, we offer the testing and that's all of the testing.
All right. So let's talk a little bit before you guys go about treatment for HIV. You know, I know that treatment has come a long way, and it's not as much of a death sentence, so to speak, if you are diagnosed with HIV. Can either one of you, let's talk about treatments and the I guess the good news for people if you do end up having HIV, which may help people go ahead and get tested, because I think not only is there, again, a stigma attached, but people are afraid because it was once a death sentence.
Absolutely. HIV is absolutely no longer a death sentence at all. People live very full, very long lives. Treatment has definitely come a long way. Most people are down to just one pill that they take for their antiretroviral therapy. And there's lots of options as far as antiretroviral therapy, but it starts with knowing your status, knowing that you need the treatment, getting into care, staying into care, and just doing the work. Once you know how to take care of yourself, right? You can't hide from the diabetes, right? Because you're going to feel sick eventually. And it's kind of the same with HIV. So it's just better to get tested, better to know, so you can get into care and live a healthy, long life.
Yeah.
And I would add, seek that support as well. Initially there may be some challenges with acceptance and things of that sort, but seek that support. And most of the agencies that provide the HIV treatment and medical care will give you that support that you definitely would need.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dean, because I was going to ask about that, because there's more than medical support that's needed.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yes. We have support groups here at PALS. We have a behavioral therapist that we have on staff. Our staff are trained in identifying some of the challenges that individuals might have, and to be able to make that referral or work with them to get them through some of those challenges. So definitely, yes, that portion outside of the medical is definitely available and is needed.
Great. National HIV Testing Day. You can get tested for free throughout the state. Take charge of your health, take charge of your life, and make sure you know your status. Thank you to Deasia Lee with SCDHEC, and also Dean Edwards, Program Manager at Palmetto AIDS Life Support Services. Thank you guys so much for all that you do within our community to help people live their best lives. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Now, coming up, Autism Pride Day. An educator and mom of autistic children joins us next to share her journey of providing a quality and safe life for her children. That's coming up next on Wellness Wednesday. It's brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and In It Together, SC.
Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic, and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing and vaccination sites and info to help protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In It Together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Visit columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers, helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training training services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, a fast, fun, friendly transit system that can take you anywhere you want to go in the Midlands. So don't miss your shot. Catch the Comet and get a free ride to get your COVID vaccine. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Tax Services, South Carolina's premier full-service financial provider with over 20 years of experience. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. And Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Call Daniel for honest, professional, reliable, and knowledgeable computer sales and service. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together. The South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities. Agape Counseling and Training Services. The Comet Bus System. Palmetto Media Connections. Javis Financial Services. And Computers Unique.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comedy is our livelihood.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting project. We can paint anything. Our business is about interior painting and exterior painting. We offer services for residential and commercial properties. Restore the life to your home with a fresh coat of paint from Palmetto Painting Services. References are available upon request. Give us a call at 803-546-4570 today.
How will you remember the year 2020?
COVID.
Losing my job.
Working 12-hour shifts in a mask.
Losing my grandma to COVID.
COVID has claimed thousands in South Carolina and strained our health system, schools, businesses, and families. If you're struggling and need to talk, call SC Hopes. That free call can help put you in touch with people who can help. This goes for healthcare workers, teachers, restaurant employees, parents, anyone and everyone. SC Hopes, mental health and addiction support for challenging times.
You can eat what's good to you and good for you, too.
Yes.
Get the Dash for Southern Soul cookbook free. All you have to do is ask. It's packed with delicious Southern-style recipes with a healthy twist.
Yummy.
You won't be able to taste the difference, but you will be able to feel the difference.
Yeah.
Inbox your email address to the In It Together or TaylorMade Productions Facebook page, and you'll get it straight to your mailbox. The Dash for Southern Style cookbook and a Coping with COVID face mask. From In It Together SC, the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, and Coping with COVID.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Coping with COVID and In It Together SC presents Wellness Wednesday from the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina. Please post, share, follow, and like the In It Together Facebook page and the TaylorMade production page, which is the home of Coping with COVID. And please continue to share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. I'm Tre Tailor, and the Autistic Pride Day was first celebrated in 2005 by Auspice for Freedom. AFF is a group that raises public awareness about autism and autistic rights. And they show that autism is not a disability, but in fact has many advantages. The June 18th date was selected because it was the birthday of the youngest member of the group at that time. Amanda Anderson is a special education teaching assistant and mom of autistic children. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell us about your children. Here's a beautiful picture of your family. Tell us about your children.
Yes. Well, my husband and I, my husband Quincy, we're the proud parents of 3 children, a set of twins, a girl, Jordan, that has the glasses on in the picture, and a son, Quentin, and then our youngest, Amaya, who's in her graduation robes from last year. Quentin was born second, and he has autism, and Amaya, who was born 18 months after them, have autism, but Jordan does not have autism.
Right. Is there autism in you or your husband's family that you know of?
When my children were born, out of my cousins, there was no one before me that had anything related to autism. We had some cerebral palsy, but nothing with autism. After me, I have two cousins on my mother's side that both have sons with autism.
Really?
Yes.
So when did you find out your babies were autistic?
Well, Quentin, typically you start seeing it like 18 months old, and that's when I saw it in him. He went from hitting all of his milestones. He was born second, but he did everything first. Other than his twin sister. He walked, crawled, toddled, had baby babble. He hit all his milestones first, and Jordan was not, she wasn't doing those things first. He did everything first, but about 18 months old, he started to stare at ceiling fans and cry, where he didn't do that, and his language sort of stopped. And
really? Wow.
he didn't want to eat more solid food, the transition to more solid table food. He didn't want to do that. He seemed to be sensitive to light and sound. He would cover his ears, and it definitely was notable. And I went to the doctor many times and was dismissed because they were comparing him to his they were comparing him to his twin sister, who, girls develop faster and you can't compare it to his twin. And I'm like, well, he's doing everything first, so that doesn't make sense.
Right.
The doctor also told me that he was jealous of the new baby that had came home when he was 18 months old. So he was regressing because of the attention that the new baby was getting. So it was really a struggle to get him diagnosed. He wasn't officially diagnosed until he was 4.5.
Oh my goodness. But he started showing symptoms that you saw
at 18 months.
Wow.
And I took him to the doctor, and they were like, oh, you're a new mom, you can't compare him to, boys develop, slower, and just basically dismissing what was obvious to me. And even in some respects, other people telling me, well, his father didn't speak, on time, and things like that. You had cousins that, were delayed, but it just was a nagging sensation in me that I knew something was wrong. And
with your baby, it's your mother instinct.
it just really nagged me. And you don't want to give in to fear or say something is wrong with your child, but there was obviously something going on. He would prefer to put rocks in his mouth versus food. So that was, he would spin and flap his arms, things that are really telltale signs of autism that I didn't really even know about. Didn't really know about. And finally, about 3.5 is when the doctor was like, your son, another doctor that I took him to said, your son has autism. And, and I miss critical time because early intervention is so key in getting the help. And Quentin is 22 now. He's still nonverbal versus his sister, who she was 6 months old. And I was like, nope. She's crying. She's having a lot of issues with her early intervention. She speaks, she's high functioning. And I mean, it's really like night and day.
Yeah. And you feel like that piece of time, 3 years, really, for almost 4 years, was critical in recognizing and diagnosing what those babies had so that they could do something about it.
Absolutely. It is one of my greatest regrets that I didn't just immediately go to another doctor. I know. I made my peace with it. I really encourage parents, don't ignore the signs. Don't ignore the signs. And I mean, it just, I'm blessed because they are healthy, wonderful kids, I say, but they're adults now. But it was definitely a struggle trying to get help for him at the beginning. And this was like 2003.
Yeah. Are you still there? Yeah. It's interesting because, I love that you say, parents advocate for your children. Follow your instincts, because what you're saying is basically, if you get a no, go someplace else.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You're not being worrisome if you notice such a stark change in your child's behavior. I mean, he was the most unproblematic of the three children. And all of a sudden he was weepy. He would cover his ears, and it seemed like sound was just so hard for him. And I really knew something was very wrong. I'm happy that eventually we did get a great pediatrician, a great developmental pediatrician, to really get the ball rolling, especially for him and Amaya. And I really feel like it makes the difference. I can't stress enough. Early intervention is key. Don't ignore the signs.
Right. We've got a graphic here about autism, and it says it's a serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact. Common symptoms. You tell me if you saw this. Difficulty with communicating, difficulty with social interaction, obsessive interests, repetitive behaviors. And it says here, early diagnosis and treatment can help, and it's key, but it says autism can't be cured. Autism may be chronic, and it can last for years or for a lifetime. As you say, your daughter is doing so much better with it, you said, than your son because of the early intervention. Tell me, Amanda, what is it parenting an autistic child?
It is very challenging. I can say I'm very blessed because I decided from the beginning that regardless of their disability or ability, I was going to parent them.
Yeah.
Not for the way that I wanted the world to be, but for the way the world is.
Yeah.
That means that, I stress love, discipline, structure, routine. Love, discipline, structure, routine. I cannot say it enough. And I had everybody and the people that were in my village on the same page.
Yeah.
It was very difficult at the beginning. I spent many days in tears and questioning and asking the Lord why, not one, but two. And as easy as Quentin was, Amaya she was one of the roughest. Behavior wise, screaming, tantrums. She didn't want to eat anything. She didn't want to go to anybody, nobody to touch her except me. Whereas Quentin would walk off with anybody. He thought everybody loved him. Amaya was the total opposite. I would be at the school. Sometimes I remember one year I just put a chair outside her classroom to just try to manage the behaviors. And even as early as 3, the first neurologist we came in contact wanted to give her Prozac at 3 years old because of her anxiety. Because we could barely get her in a building. We couldn't bring her in the school. Stores. It was really, really hard. But I have to stress that with that love, discipline, structure, and routine, keeping them, holding them accountable for their behaviors, working with their behaviors, outside speech and occupational therapy, not just from school, because school does not provide enough for these children that they need. They need outside services outside of school. I think the pandemic kind of really highlighted that school is kind of really being looked at as the end all and be all. And if you have a special needs child, especially with autism, you need outside services. So just constantly seeking out the help, because at that time, I didn't know anybody else that had a child with autism. So it was all about me researching, trying to find agencies, getting the help that they needed. And once I got a good schedule in place, worked hand in hand with each of my child's teachers, what happened at school, had a direct effect on what happened at home. If you didn't do what you were supposed to do at school, you didn't, I parent them for the way I wanted them to be able to function in the quote unquote normal world. Because I wanted them to be able to function, and they can go, I can take them anywhere, do anything. We've been on a cruise, something that when we were in the thick of the behaviors, we couldn't even picture going to a restaurant at one time.
Right.
It was like the low steps. Can I take her in Walmart without her having a tantrum? We can do anything. And I know that's because with the help of my family that I have here, and just being consistent and it's hard when you're in it. You can't even, you're so down, sad.
Yeah.
You can't really see it, because when you get diagnosed, you see all the dreams that you have for them kind of just evaporate. And then you have like some medical professionals that actually told me on the day of diagnosis for my son, this is the worst state to live in if your child has autism. Literally said that in the meeting. And I said, well, along with giving me the divorce rate, well, you know, the divorce rate, if you have one child with autism, is, you know, it's 80%. So I looked at my husband and I said, well, we have 160% chance of getting divorced because we have two. It just, you know, it just seemed in the early 2000s, there just wasn't enough support. And now parents are so blessed because there's so many more agencies. ABA therapy is provided, and it's just so many things. So I don't want parents to have a child with autism to be discouraged, because I'm telling you, you can do it. You get the help that you need, get a system in place, and you'll be able to see your way through it. And you just dream other dreams for them. You know, it's definitely a process, but you know, there is happiness in it. It definitely is.
Amanda Cruel Anderson joins us. It is Autism Pride Month, and we are talking about her journey as an educator and parent of two children with autism. So, Amanda, tell me about some of those resources for those folks. And this is a picture of her beautiful family. You mentioned that there are several resources. Can we talk a little bit about what some of those resources are, what you would suggest for parents of autistic children? And are there specific challenges for autism children of color?
Oh, absolutely. I'll talk about the services first. The first thing that I did after you find a doctor that's willing to listen to you, you have to have a developmental pediatrician. You need to, because one handles the child's health, the other handles the health and the disability. Get referrals for services through your doctor. They can refer you to outside speech agencies, outside occupational therapies. And I would also suggest agencies like Family Connection of South Carolina. They were very helpful for me in the beginning, especially with my daughter that didn't have autism, because she had two siblings that she couldn't really have that sibling bond or relationship with. And so that Family Connection put me in contact with a sibling group, a sibling support group. That helped her, and she was able to talk about her feelings, because it can be lonely. She doesn't have the relationship like I have with my sister and my brother. And a lot of people don't think about the child that doesn't have the disability.
That's right. But it affects the whole family.
It affects the whole family. I mean, but agencies like Family Connection, the Autism Society, I worked a lot with, and most of my kids were under the Richland Lexington Disabilities and Special Needs Board for care coordination services. And that helps you get on waivers and things that you need. For incontinence supplies, a lot of kids with autism aren't potty trained. It's very hard to potty train. So there are a lot of waivers and support things like that you can actually get on. So I would advise you to go look them up, autism services. There are even more schools and now just for kids with autism that there were not when I first started this journey. So there are a lot of agencies, and also find a support group for moms, parents, to find other parents like you. It's a wealth of resources when you find a group of other people like you, because if you don't have a child with autism, you kind of really don't understand what it's really like in the trenches. But we do appreciate the support, though, and the encouragement from people that don't have kids with autism, obviously. But as far as having African-American children with autism, I definitely, as Quentin transitioned into manhood, one of my main concerns when he and I used to be in the car together, taking him to therapy, after school, I would drop the girls off. He and I would be in the car alone. Quentin likes to hold rubber snakes. He likes little squishy balls. So even though he looks like a man on the outside, he has a goatee, mustache, and he's sitting in the front seat with me. He looks like, I hate when people say this, but a normal, you can't tell anything. Like exactly. He looks like, So with all the, the police issues and things that were going on, I had a fear actually, that what would happen if someone pulled me over, and Quentin cannot comply with those instructions that the police were giving.
Girl.
Quentin does this, he rocks. So what if the police officer thinks that he's hiding something or he's moving suspiciously? And it sent a fear in my heart that I never had before until I looked at him and was like, oh gosh, you are a man.
Yeah.
You're my baby, and you still hold my hand in the store.
You're a black man. You're a black man.
But you're a black man.
Everybody else, you're another black male.
Exactly. And it sent fear in my heart. And I did reach out to like the sheriff's department, and I contacted some lawmakers, and I was, trying to say, well, maybe, they could put something on my license tag or something on the tag of anybody that had him, that when they scan, because a bumper sticker is not going to do it. I don't think if you see autistic kid on board, they're going to pay attention to that. But I felt that if they scanned my license tag and it said it may be a person with autism that will not communicate, that they will approach with caution. And I went to the sheriff's department, and they were like, well, that's an issue for the DMV. And I went to the DMV, and the DMV was like, that's an issue for the sheriff's department. It was just, I never got any feedback on it, but it's still something that I obviously think about. What will I do if, something happens like that? And you don't want to think that something would ever happen like that, but in the current climate that we're in, it's a possibility. And, so those are things that I think about, especially with our kids with autism, with communication issues. How will we deal with that? I mean, I have, he has ID, but he doesn't carry it. I carry his ID.
Right.
He has no concept of, I'm supposed to give this to the officer if he asks for it. What do I do? He could have a bracelet on. We had bracelets made for them, but the officer's not going to see the bracelet when he's in the car. It'll be too late then. So I'm still trying to hope that I get some feedback about that idea, because that would give me a peace of mind, and it could be transferable to my mother-in-law, my sister, anybody that has him or that transports. Now Maya will respond, but I don't think she would still not be able to understand a lot of those commands. So I think in this current climate, it's definitely been something on my mind. And they haven't been out that much because of the pandemic, which is another thing, but eventually we'll get back to going out and things like that. And so it's definitely something that crosses my mind. It's definitely different. I mean, even though autism affects all social, economical, racist, everything, that's something that I feel like I have to worry about more than others.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point, Amanda, that you make. And I do think that might be a legislative thing. I think it's a legislative issue, and I would love to maybe help you get that in front of, the right legislators. Have you gone that route at all?
Yes, I did email some, and I didn't hear anything back. And then, life goes on, and then COVID happened. And I was just like, but I definitely would like to really help, get that forward, because it would be a great weight off my mind, and even if, God forbid, if something happened to me, or, anybody that was transporting them, if they could read the tag, okay, this child has needs, I just really feel like it would give a lot of parents a peace of mind.
Yeah. We're talking to Amanda Cruel Anderson. She is the mother of two beautiful autistic children, a boy and a girl, twins. You can see a picture of her beautiful family there. We have a question, Amanda. How is it working from home with the children? Have you experienced any type of challenges?
Well, they're quiet now because I tell them to be quiet. But when I work for, I'm in an elementary school classroom, an autism class, or an SSP class, as it's called. And we were home during the pandemic some, and there was a lot of autism noises going on in the background while I was home. I'm like, Mommy's working. Please don't, Mommy's working. Shh, be quiet. So it definitely was a challenge. And it was also a challenge for them to be home because they had that school schedule, and that's a big transitional
consistency.
Issue. Consistency. For Quentin, he was happy. He was like, wow, you're not making me get up and go to school. That's great. With Amaya, she loved school, so much, and she loved the interaction, the socialization. So it's definitely been hard for her because we had to alter our plans not to send them to an adult day service because of COVID, I just was not comfortable sending them. So they've been home, and it's been hard on her. It's been a challenge, missing church and, just the normal things that we've done. It definitely, there was some sadness in her about missing a lot of those things. And how can you explain a pandemic,
Yeah.
You really can't. We don't really understand it. So it's kind of difficult. So it's definitely been hard. Eventually, I hope to be able to get them into something where they can go back and, have some time out. But I'm not able to get them the COVID shot right now because I'm not their legal guardian. Another whole thing.
Which is what I want to talk about. But before we get to that, I want to ask, so right now you're working inside the home. What about when you were working outside the home? What happens with the kids then?
Well, my daughter, the twins, one twin does not have autism. Amaya is not his twin. She's the baby of the family. His twin sister was home doing college classes online. So she was home helping me out tremendously with them. So they didn't really have to go anywhere. They were, while I was at school, she was here with them because, they're 22 and 20. So she was here. My husband didn't go to work until it was almost time for me to come home because he works at the hospital. So
okay, good. So you guys were able to coordinate your schedules.
Yes, our schedules. Yes, well, he goes in kind of when I'm about to leave work, and comes home. So it worked out, thankfully, for us. Obviously, Jordan won't be here that much longer because she's finishing up school, and I'll have to reevaluate what I do as far as with Quentin and Amaya. But yeah, it definitely, COVID definitely was, just kind of threw a monkey wrench in a lot of our plans that we had for them.
Yeah. Now you mentioned a little bit that, the kids are now adults. They can't legally or developmentally sign or get their own COVID test. You've got to do it. So now that throws in the situation of you and your husband trying to get legal guardianship of your two adult autistic children. Tell me about that process.
That's another thing I would really like to have a nice little talk with some legislators about. Right now, we're in the process of guardianship for our two adult children with autism, because once they turn 18, we basically are no longer their legal guardian. They've always lived with us. We brought them home from the hospital. They've never not been in our care, but it's almost like adopting them. Mm-hmm. We have to have background checks on ourselves. We had to find attorneys that luckily are doing it for us pro bono, because it is very expensive to have, and we have to do it in duplicate. Everything we do for Amaya, we have to do for Quentin. And when they were 18, they were still in high school. We were still covered with the IDEA Act. We were able to sit in IEPs. They had the same pediatrician. There were no real changes that warranted guardianship, because they want you to actually wait until you kind of start having some issues, which is not really a good thing to do. All parents, please start it at 18. Don't wait. And so basically that's what we have to do. We had to petition the court. They got served the other day and we're waiting on a hearing. Someone has to come visit the house that they've always lived in. Right. It just, the irony of it is that, when you leave the hospital with these precious babies, they just tell you good luck. They don't come to a home visit.
The thing, girl, they shouldn't. They should do more check. Not with you. Yeah. But there should be more checking of who can get to keep their babies.
Absolutely. I mean, I was like, they say, do you have car seats? Okay, good. Good luck to you with these twins. And then the next 18 months later, good luck with this baby. But now that they're adults, you want to come and see their home. You want to do a background check on my husband and I. And I mean, it's just a lot of people, most people do not have the money to do this. Right. And you can try and save, but like with autism, there are expenses that just, over time. And I wasn't able to work. My husband was the only one working at the time because we had two. Right. So, it was very difficult. So right now we're in the guardianship process. So even something as simple as a COVID shot, I can't take them to get a COVID shot because Quentin can't speak. And Amaya would literally probably sign her life away. She would just, yay, I write my name. I like to write. So she would just write her name on the paper. So those are the issues that we are dealing with now.
Wow.
And it's just amazing that you never really think about that kind of stuff until
you don't.
Until
you have to. You don't think about it until you have to. Yeah, Amanda Cruel Anderson joins us. She has been telling us about her journey with 2 autistic children. She's been giving us some amazing information, insight, and she has a beautiful family. And Amanda, before we go, I want to talk a little bit about, and I'm sure you know about Toni Braxton's child, Chilch, her son Diesel, and she's been very vocal about his autism diagnosis. And a couple of years back, she said he was cured, or he was no longer autistic. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Not only her, who I love, Toni Braxton, absolutely. Jenny McCarthy also has a son,
right,
with autism. Well, and I have heard that they said that they can be cured. What I would say to that is, if you are able to afford the intensive therapy, the special diet that they think plays a part in a lot of that things, I think the more resources that you have, the better chance your child has of not seeming like he has autism anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you. Mm-hmm.
I think that if we had the money and the resources to have these intensive therapies, you can get to a level of function where it does not look like you have autism. I don't really, my personal opinion is that, if they feel that they're cured, then, but I think that you can still really see, if you're an autism mom, I can definitely see autism still present. But
they may be on a different form of the spectrum. They may.
Yes, because it's definitely a spectrum. Quentin is considered severe because he's nonverbal. He had some issues with motor function and things like that. Amaya, she can speak and she'll answer you, but she's not a conversational speech person. She won't, you have to prompt her with conversation, but she can tell you anything you want. So, if you've seen one kid with autism, they say you've seen one kid. It's so vast. There's so many different levels and degrees of it that you might speak to people every day and don't know they have autism.
Right.
Because that's just how good they are able to function and things like that. So, I'm always happy when I see people like that. And it does make me wish that I had the resources, that I had at the beginning to really that intensive therapy to get them to the point where they could live on their own. They will live with me and I don't have any problem with that. I mean, because, they're my babies. But yes, I mean, they, definitely, I think that your resources really can kind of help. It gives your child a better odds, I would say.
Yeah. Amanda Cruel Anderson, thank you so much just for sharing your story, for your transparency, for working. I mean, just for taking the initiative to do what you need to do for your children. Listen, like you said, we get these children and we don't know what we got. And then we just gotta, just like our mamas and daddies didn't know what they had with us, girl.
Absolutely.
So we just have to, do the best we can for our children. I know there are several websites. There's the Autistic Society website, and then there's Autism Speaks. So if people want more information, they certainly, can visit those 2 websites. And then you gave some great information and some great resources for people who are navigating the right decisions for their children. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And good luck. God bless. And let's connect, because I want to help you if I can with kind of reaching out to some legislators to, to help the process. Because listen, you're one parent that's expressing this. There are millions more that have similar story.
Absolutely. I appreciate any help you could give. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Amanda Cruel Anderson, ladies and gentlemen, with her son, her children, her son and daughter have autism. Again, for more information about autism, check the screen for resources and let's keep them in our prayers. I'm Tre Tailor, In It Together SC, and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Listen, if you have a story or initiative that can help someone cope with COVID, please go to the TailorMade production page on Facebook and inbox me. We would love to feature you. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwith@tretailor@gmail.com. And we would love for you to be a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, just like In It Together SC, the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, SCDHEC, the Office of Business Opportunities with the City of Columbia, Javis Tax Service, Palmetto Media Connections, the Comet Bus System, which, by the way, we're going to talk with them tomorrow, Palmetto Painting Services, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. As I said, tomorrow we're catching up with a Comet with Pamela Bino Reed and Charles Aiken, who is going to be partnering with the Comet to do some vaccinations. Also, we'll continue our Black Music Month celebration with the DJs who played the music. Vinnie Brown, Mike Love, Cy Young, and more will join us Friday on Coping with COVID. Next week on Wellness Wednesday, PTSD Beyond Veterans. And then next month, we'll talk to candidates Mia McLeod, who's running for governor of South Carolina, City Council, Tyler Bailey, Krista Williams, Deetra Stover Matthews. And we begin our monthly series with the Fifth Circuit Court Solicitor's Office. Byron Gibson will join us next month on Coping with COVID. As usual, I will leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. I want to read you yesterday's Jesus Calling because it was so good. It says, "Thank me for the very things that are troubling you. You are on the brink of rebellion, precariously close to shaking your fist in my face." This is Jesus talking. "You're tempted to indulge in just a little complaining about my treatment of you. But once you step over the line, torrents of rage and self-pity can sweep you away. The best protection against this indulgence is thanksgiving. It's impossible to thank me and curse me at the same time. Thanking me for trials will feel awkward and contrived at first, but if you persist, your thankful words, prayed in faith, will eventually make a difference in your heart. Thankfulness awakens you to my presence, which overshadows all your problems. Thank him anyhow." I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Until tomorrow, I wish you peace, abundant blessings. Stay safe, be well, get your vaccine, and wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. Have a great one.
Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.